Right.
Okay, we should be going
We're
live
live.
right now.
Yeah.
Let's see if we have our little ticker, 10-second timer ticker.
No, I think we're already live, bro.
Oh, fantastic. Well, welcome to Cash Talks Football on a Monday night, where basically we have no sort of... Every time I try to do a live stream, I have this whole notebook section of what I want to talk about in the week. And by the time I get to actual Monday, half of it's irrelevant, right? Because the football cycle goes so quick. And I end up talking about something else completely and utterly random. But I'm going to try to have some more guests on. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Go on a little bit of a rant.
Okay. Well, first off, hopefully they can hear us. That's one comment. So let us know if you can hear us now, mate. But yeah, my name's Ez. Part of the FFTV Forest Fan TV network. Something that a couple of us mates put together, and then it's gone from strength to strength. So this is where we've just had our 4-year anniversary. It coincided with obviously Forest getting promoted, because none of us were Forest fans apparently before Forest got promoted.
That's always the way, isn't it?
Yeah, always the way. But yeah, it's going really well. We've had you on the channel as well, haven't we, Cash? So you've met some of the lads that we work with, and we do regular shows. We do a Grumpy Old Red show once or twice a week, where we it's basically no holds barred, isn't it, in there? And you can give your opinion, and that's what the channel's about. It's about fans giving their opinions and being able to do it in a safe space without, being judged, really. But yeah, thank you for allowing me to introduce myself a little bit. But yeah,
of course, buddy. Well, I actually quite like always being on the listening to your show in the background. I've always got it on when I'm doing stuff. So yeah, but I do like a couple of like this, and I know you guys are massively 35,000. I mean, you guys are growing as a fan channel, but I do like those couple of those fan channels. There's just so many that I dislike. When I was coming into YouTube, it was probably about the first year I had to sort of find my way, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the I know so much about football. I'm one of these people that I have to know everything about everything. So it's like, so when people are talking nonsense on YouTube, I was doing like I was going to, I started breaking down people's videos and destroying them, because every single thing that they say in their football video is 100% wrong. I've got some of those, on my channel.
Mm-hmm.
Like one guy, it's not aged well for him, explaining why, was it Modric, that Chelsea player?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, why he's £100 million player, and I was just laughing, and I did a video on it. But then I sort of had to reflect and go, well, that's not who I really am. In football, I help people and make things better, and and try to give people a better perspective of what they're thinking and how they're saying it. Because a lot of terminology in football people don't really know. And I was going to pull up old Rob on it. Was it Rob? No, Ant yesterday.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because he was talking about formations, and I kept putting in the chat, ask him to tell the difference between a formation and shape.
Mm-hmm.
Because most people don't even know there's a difference between formation and shape, let alone being able to articulate it, let alone be able to get it across to your team. So it's all these things that people just don't know because they haven't done much football coaching, or they've been in the football world maybe, but none of them are held accountable. And what's held accountable is getting wins. Without wins, you lose your job. And until you're in that situation, you just get to chat shit and just make up stuff and just go, oh, yeah, if they do this, it'll be better. Will it? Have you tried it?
I mean, the shit show of a season that we've had so far, we're on to our third manager.
Gotcha.
Give us a brief overview of how you've seen it, as obviously as an outsider, because we kind of get too involved in it, too wrapped up in it sometimes, and it's hard to be impartial. You give your opinion. Sometimes we're doing a show literally hours after a game, so the emotions are quite raw, and then you reflect on, and maybe you have different opinions, but
so we're doing it myself more appropriately.
We're doing it as Forest fans, so I'd love to hear from non-Forest.
Okay, so when I came on, if you remember, Ange just sort of came in and I said I'm going to give him 10 games. So if you're doing an advanced technical analysis of stuff, there's certain things that you have to take into account. Like technically, if you're doing an analysis, you won't do a home game. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's already a bias in the home game. Like, there's no such thing as a new manager bounce because it's scheduled. So they fired the guy. So you're playing a home game, which is already going to give you a 50% win, right? You know, more of a chance of winning. It's like, say it's about a 56% chance of you winning at home. So you already have that percentage. And then they do it against a weaker opponent. So now you're up to a 60 to 70% chance of winning the game before you come in. They go, oh, new manager bounce. No, it's set up that way. You're not watching. So when Ange came in, I wanted to give him 10 games before I could start to see, is there a system of play? Can I spot anything? What's going right and wrong at Forest? Now, I'll tell you now, Forest fans don't like him. He was doing well at Forest. The results don't show that, by the way. And what I mean, but what was he doing well in? The amount of opportunities to score goals that Forest had created under Ange Postecoglou was absolutely insane. You should have been beating people by 4 goals. They weren't going in, and they were all going in at the other end.
Yeah,
and he was gone before any of that could happen. Now, Ange, the other end is a problem for me. I don't know if he could have fixed that, because I don't know if he's got that in his locker. But the amount, go back and look at the opportunities that Forest missed in those games, and you're going to go, oh my God, like, Was he on the right?
I mean, it's something myself and Wolfie commented on a lot, that we were playing some of the best football that we'd seen for a while, especially that first half. I think it was against Betis. It was fantastic.
Betis game was very good. Yeah.
But going back on what you were saying about the new manager bounce, he started with 4 away games. You know, it was a long time, and that first home game was I think it was a 1-0 defeat to Sunderland.
Yeah, I think it was.
We just didn't turn up, and that followed with Betis game. So my argument from that, the biggest problem we saw under Ange was changing of the team every single week, and not just small changes, 6, 7, 8 changes per week. After that Betis game, I wanted to see him put out his strongest team and get the home fans behind him in his first home game, but they were booing him. Booing him at his first home game, which is so far the only game I've got to this season, which was the Michelin Europa League game. I didn't even get to half time. I was in so much pain with my knee, but they were calling for his head in that game, and that was his first home game. So he was already onto a loser from a fan's point of view, because they just didn't see him as the right man at the time. And my argument was, you can't bring Ange into a season where he's not had a pre-season. He's one of the managers that definitely needs a pre-season. There's no way you can just throw him into okay, it may have been 3 or 4 games into the season, but you can't bring him in that situation. And the players didn't get that fitness. He didn't have time between games. I think he only had 1 free midweek in that 41 game, 42 game period that he was in charge of Forest. So no time on the field with on the training pitch with the players. The squad wasn't up to scratch. I think Nuno's pre-season was poor this year because he didn't get the players he wanted. He was in a huff for a long time before he actually got sacked. But if you go back to last season's pre-season, that was a catalyst for the amazing start. 3 quarters of the season was unbelievable. The last quarter is where we dropped off and we didn't get that Champions League place. But for 3 quarters of that season, we were brilliant. And that was down to a Nuno pre-season. But this pre-season, his heart wasn't in it. He was moaning about he didn't get the players in. And then you're bringing in Ange 3 or 4 games into that season. It was a disaster.
Well, all comes down to me. It comes down to Edu. Okay, Edu's the biggest problem at Forest, and no one even understands this, right? Edu doesn't have to produce or prove anything, but he's in Marinakis' ear. Oh, yeah, I bought you the best players. And Nuno's like going, I didn't want these players. Oh, no, I bought them. No. Nuno's, he's not the right manager for you then. Okay, think about your manager, your owner, Marinakis. He wanted Champions League football. As far as he's concerned, he's a Champions League team, okay, in his head. Nuno's got nothing to do with that. He's just, I can change that person. It won't make any difference. That's how he sees it as an owner. And he's getting backed up by Edu. And Edu's going, oh, if you've got these players and I get these, you'll make Champions League football. But that's just not how football works. No. So now you've got Nuno, and he's always fighting against Edu. It's like having a girlfriend and her best friend telling your girlfriend all the time, oh, he's wrong for you. He's wrong for you. That's the same thing that's happening now. Your mother-in-law, the mother-in-law's always in your girlfriend's ears, like, me. That's what Edu is. So you can't get rid of Edu. Until you get rid of Edu, it needs to be the manager, because Marinakis isn't like any other owner. It needs to be him and the manager. They can't have a third party in between.
Well, this was it. this is it, and you might know the stats better than I do, but I did see something recently talking about how many first team coaches are in the Premier League and how many managers there are. And I think it was like 8 managers and the rest of them are first team coaches. Now, Nuno's had to go from being a manager where he did have Marinakis' ear, because that was one of the first things he said in those interviews. He was complaining about the fact that last season, you know, you could spoke to him every day, and this season he's hardly spoken to him. Now, I've never known an owner speak to the manager every single day. That was a very rare exception last season, and I think he thought that was going to be the case going forward. But basically, it changed his role. He went from being a manager to being a first-team coach. And I don't know if there's history with him and Edu, but things were said, and we've had it on good authority that certain things happened, especially with the Adama Traore incident, where Nuno wanted him, and Edu said, yes, okay, I'll go and get him for him. Get him for you. Came back and said apparently that no, you know, they've priced us out of it, and you know, Nuno accepted that, and then Nuno finds out they never even spoke to him. So those kind of things that, you know, when you're hearing those kind of things going on behind the scenes, it doesn't bode well for harmony. And
no, you can't do that.
No, and that's the last thing we needed on the eve of the season, because he was talking all that nonsense, and we're thinking he's just spent we spent over 200 million in this summer transfer window.
Wow, I didn't know it was that much.
Yeah, yes, we waited until the decision was made on Europa League, whether we were going to get that position ahead of Crystal Palace, which we deserved by all means. I'm sorry, we can have a separate discussion on that. But
by the way, so the current degree I'm doing, I'm currently undergrad in law, and it's very interesting to see that basically law doesn't matter in football, because Crystal Palace by law should have had that spot. Okay, because of what's happened. Now they can argue the timing isn't right, because of the dual ownership and all that sort of nonsense, right? And they can go, they didn't meet the deadlines, but deadlines are always extendable, because you're talking about complex business decisions and trying to move millions. It's not easy, so they can appeal that, and a judge would have overturned that. Because they can just put the argument forward saying, well, this isn't me selling an ice cream sundae, this is me selling a share in a football club. It's completely different, you know. But ultimately, it is what it is. Like, Palace should have been smarter and doing it beforehand anyway. Like, let's be honest. And that's a whole other discussion.
He didn't get the email, you know, and all that sort of stuff. I mean,
that is unacceptable. By the way, you just don't say that. Like, that's just poor representation. You just don't say things like that. You know, you just don't publicly admit to anything ever, even if it's like that's exactly what happened. You're trying to get your club into, no, you just don't say any of that stuff.
Absolutely. But that was, as soon as that decision was made, that's when Marinakis opened his wallet and we bought in the players. You'd expect Nuno would have been happy with that, but he wasn't. So that's what caused the whole start of this atrocious season. But like I said, the biggest mistake was not
being lied to. It's being lied to. It's being lied
to. But not hiring Ange wasn't the biggest error. The error was bringing him in. If you're going to bring him in, you should have brought him in the summer, given him a full season and bring him in. I know there's connections between the two of them with Marinakis and Ange Postecoglou. So there was rumours years ago that he was coming in to replace Steve Cooper.
Okay, Cooper did you well though, didn't he?
Well, I mean, Cooper, I think, stayed on for longer than he should have, to be honest. I don't think he should have got that second season. He did amazingly to keep us up, and the right decision was made in the end to keep him. And basically, it was our home form in that first season that kept us up. And obviously, that win against Arsenal, I think that was our second to last home game, that secured us staying up. But we had some amazing results that season. We beat Liverpool at home that year as well. We beat Arsenal, like I said. I think we got a draw with Man City that year. There was some amazing football, but he was losing the dressing room, and there was a lot of talk about how he brought the club together. And yes, he did. I'm not going to knock anything Steve Cooper did, because to get us out of a championship, it took 23 years for us to come back into the Premier League, and that was the bulk of my adult life. Watching us in League One for like 3 seasons, and then
Well, that's why
You
I
have a
want to
good
come on
season, a
to
bad season, but go on.
a little bit now is because the City ground, it's a home ground, okay? If you're winning your home games, you got to look at Leeds, you got to look at Sunderland, you got to look at West Ham. I think Bournemouth and West Ham are the two teams to go down because Bournemouth's about to sell one of their best players, and they've lost 6 or maybe 8 in a row. They're going to keep going down and down and down and down.
They've plummeted, haven't they?
Yep, and they're going to keep going down.
This league can change because we had people telling us, and I think it's me and probably Wolfie really that are saying that we're not in a relegation battle, and we've never agreed. Even when we were in the relegation zone, didn't mean we were in a relegation battle. You could be in a relegation zone after the first game of the season. Does that mean you're in a relegation battle?
So if you look at the league table right now, if you look at what's really going on, so it's from Bournemouth down, okay? We all know Wolves are down. We all know Burnley's down. But this is the problem. And this is one thing that West Ham as a football club are done. All right. And this is so important because they don't have Upton Park. They don't have a home stadium. All their fans have left. There's 28,000 home fans that will refuse that sign a petition that have been going for years that refuse to go there. So you're looking at basically West Ham and Bournemouth. Leeds are too good. Nottingham Forest are too good. They're picking up points. They're going to go out. Bournemouth haven't won forever. They play Chelsea next, as you can see. They're going. Yeah, they are going to really, really struggle to keep going. Selling their best player as well is exactly what Wolves have done. But Wolves, have been selling their best players for the last couple of seasons. They're in real trouble. But ultimately, that's what's going to end up happening. Leeds will end up beating Liverpool on the weekend.
Yeah. I think we've got a chance to get a result there, definitely. I think I've put them down. Look at where Bournemouth were a dozen games ago. People were talking about them fighting for a Champions League place, and then saying they've got one of the best managers in the league. This is
do they? See, this is the problem I have with all this football talk, right? Is they don't necessarily have one of the best managers in the league. What they've got is Pep Guardiola is a first team coach. He's not a manager. Okay, he's a part of a system that's all behind the scenes. It's doing a thing. Okay, and he's not that necessarily. He's not picking any of these players. He's just coaching. That's his job. That's what he's good at. And Bournemouth are very much a very sort of similar way, and so is Brighton. And Brighton and Bournemouth are very much like, it doesn't really. This just happens to be the manager that's benefiting from the system that they've been, putting all these players into. That's what's going on. They've got a very good infrastructure behind them because the owner actually knows, okay, this is what I have to do long term to stay up. And it's a very sort of different because he's an American business owner. His business plan's completely sort of different. And it's interesting how much credit this Bournemouth manager is getting, when it's really just the end of this little cycle of this recruitment cycle that they've been building over the last 4 years, and he's just reaping the benefits for it. Because all of a sudden, when he's drawing and losing all these games, no one's on his back. Wouldn't that be the same manager then that was winning all of these games? People just wash straight over it. They only give them the plaudits when they're winning. When they suck, they're just like, it's something else. Well.
But there's been plenty of talk because obviously we've gone through 3 managers this season. So as we were going through the managers, you
might go through another one. Like,
well, I think they'll stick with him now until the end of the season. I did ask Wolfie the question a couple of shows ago that because he was like, even if we win the Europa League, I want a new manager in the summer, and I asked him what Daesh has to do to keep a job, in that situation.
I like to listen to that.
Yeah, but I'm confident. Obviously, if he wins us the Europa League, he's going to get the summer to do something with it. As long as I think Forest will stay up comfortably. They may finish 17th, but I think it'll be a comfortable 17th. I don't think we're going to be in a relegation battle as it goes. We're going to win one game, we're going to lose one game. It's just how the season's going to go. And if that continues, then we'll be comfortably clear. But there's a huge game tomorrow against Everton, which the reverse fixture only a few weeks ago, we got absolutely trounced 3-0. And it was one of the worst performances under any manager I've said this season. I don't even think we had a worse performance under Ange this year.
Well, the fixtures tomorrow are going to be quite interesting, to be fair, because Burnley Newcastle, I don't like. I put in my chat No one cares. Like no one cares about
It's
West
such a
Ham,
strange
Brighton.
season. It's such a strange season. Look at the league table. You know, it's all over the place. Teams that you'd expect to be doing far better are really struggling to string wins together. And then you got Man City and Aston Villa team who are just absolutely on fire at the moment. And looking at the points on the table, man, that's where we were this time last season. Where Villa are now is where we were. 40 points after 19 games, I think we were on.
Honestly, from Liverpool down to Nottingham Forest, pretty much any team can beat any team.
Yeah.
If you went, oh yeah, Leeds are going to beat Liverpool this weekend, and Liverpool are fourth. You're going to go, yeah, I can see that happening. You know, like what?
We do this predictor league. It's probably why I've done so well this season, because it's been such a random season in terms of results. You know, you're right. I mean, we know that in this league anybody can beat anybody, but very rarely. I mean, for Wolves not to pick up a single win, and we're nearly halfway through the season. I have got a sneaky suspicion we're going to get.
They're going to beat Man United.
Yeah,
they're going to beat. I know they're going to beat Man United. I know Wolves are going to beat Man United. I watched
Wolves. Yeah.
Oh, I think Wolves play Liverpool this weekend. I can't remember. I watched Wolves play this weekend, and I watched the Wolves team play, and the desire that those Wolves players had. I think it was at Anfield this weekend, and they were on it. They wanted. They didn't want to lose. You could feel it. Like you know that it's getting to them, that record that they're going to be the worst team in Premier League history, and you could see it. The challenges were going in. They might not score, but they might not concede. It's going to be an interesting one at Old Trafford. It really is. But also though, like Crystal Palace have fallen off a bit. I don't know. There's so many weird things happening this season.
Brighton. Look at how Brighton have dropped. You know, they beat us comfortably a few weeks ago, and look at they haven't had a result in the last 5. You know, or haven't had a win. Sorry, in the last 5. It's such a topsy-turvy season. I wouldn't expect Newcastle United to be down there. You know, Everton are we're doing a lot better. I think they've dropped off a little bit as well, because I think when they beat us 3-0, they got themselves into top 7. I think. After that result, but it's been such an up and there's only 2 consistent teams at the moment, like I said, and they're both near the top, Villa and Man City. Yeah. Well,
here's the interesting part, because of this team dynamic of building a team. Now I do this whole I don't know if you've ever seen this on one of my videos, where I do this whole mind map explaining how everything works in football. And I'm gonna, eventually I'll finish it, but I don't get much time to work on it with all the stuff I do. And I mean, it explains everything in football, from people of styles of football, understanding how to, put your team together, because football's pizza. And then what sort of pizza toppings do you want? And if you've got to get the sauce right. And I explain it all like in this huge mind map of everything. And it's not finished yet. It's nowhere near finished. But basically, the big problem with all of these football clubs is they don't have any sort of plan, rhyme or structure. And you're looking at, like, when we were just looking there at the league table, you look at a team like Newcastle, okay? And, they're the richest club in the world, but they can't spend money. You don't need to spend money to be a successful football club. You need a proper academy. You need a proper scouting. Look, everyone thinks that if we buy the best players in, we'll be the best. Well, yeah, that's one way of doing it. But there's also 300,000 million other ways of doing it. And you're just choosing not to even think about all these other things. So when you're looking at something like a West Ham, this is why I say West Ham as a football club is done. They don't have a home stadium. They don't have a home crowd. That's gone. They've got nothing to keep them up.
I can see if they go down, they could plummet through the division.
They're gone. Absolutely gone. They don't have a home. They were just there was something on Twitter about one of their graduates coming through, and he was crying on the thing, and like someone put a comment on there, he needs a hug. I'm like, he's a grown man, he doesn't need a hug. He's all right. He's dealing with emotions.
Remember the West Ham Academy? They had likes of Joe Cole, Rio Ferdinand, Frank Lampard, so many fantastic players, Travis Sinclair, so many fantastic players came through that academy. And you're right. Since they moved to that stadium, they lost the heart of the club. We're never going to get that back.
That's what you need to understand. But Newcastle have that. Newcastle have all that heart and that soul and all of those interesting things that you want from a football club. Okay. But what they don't have is the business acumen to understand what you do with football. Like there is like their scouting network's bad. I mean, they're bringing up people from the academy is bad. That's where Man City, why they win. It's because they're in every country in the world. I may or may not have worked for Man City, and I know how they work. So when you know basically what they're doing and how they're scouting and recruiting all over the world, you go, oh yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I understand. Everyone's running the same system. All the coaches are coaching the same system that Pep's coaching. Everyone.
So can you accept though that then that's on that topic, then that's what Marinakis is trying to do at Forest, build this global empire, trying to get his fingers in all pies. He's got a club pretty much in each continent now, and that sort of thing. So what do you reckon about that? Because that's what
first
he's
off,
trying to do. I think he's trying to fight the league system as it is, the status quo.
First off,
what I'm praising for.
Hire me, Marinakis. This is what will happen. In 6 years, you'll have the best youth academy in the world, and you'll be beating everybody without any question. Actually, I'll probably do it in 2, right? Without a question, without a shadow of a doubt. Easy, right? You'll probably fire me in 6 months, but if you implement what I'm saying, you will be like
giving yourself 6 months,
because I'm not taking any shit, and I'm telling you what you're doing is wrong, and this is right, and this is how you do it.
You're giving yourself longer than Ange got, mate.
Well, because I'm going to tell him he's full of crap when he is, and when you're right, and you're wrong. And it's so simple to do. Now, I don't give away my secret sauce of how to do it all, because it's like I explained to the US National Federation in a massive conference when they were saying, "Oh, pace is pace. You can't teach people to run faster." And I went, "Yeah, you can." And when you can't make them faster, I'm like, "Yeah, you can." And then I explained it to them all scientifically, exactly how you do it, step by step. And they were like, "That's obvious." Like, yeah, but you didn't think about it, did you? Yes, you can. Yes, I can coach pace. Yes, I can. Yeah, it's only a muscle firing from the brain. Yeah, I can train all of that. And they're like, but you don't give away your $1 million ideas all the time. You give away like a bunch of stuff so people know. That, by the way, if I ever tell that story on YouTube, explain how to make people run faster, you're gonna go, "Oh yeah, that's obvious." That's oh yeah, it's and I'm not talking about having an Olympic coach and fixing your form. I'm talking about actually giving you pace. And it's so simple. If you're ever a kid on a bike, you'll figure it out. I'll give you a little. If you're a kid on a bike going down a hill and you lost the pedals, you'll understand. Cass, I need a bit of pace. Oh, I could do. Yeah, it's easy. It's amazing what like. As soon as you go, "Oh, it's obvious. It's absolutely obvious." So one of my favorite things of doing in a new club is I go in and I give everybody extra half a yard of pace. I've got this little trick I do where I make them all think they're in a running race, and they're not. And I put these little cones all behind their feet, and you'll be amazed.
You don't do bleep tests like Daesh do.
No. I'll tell you what happens is this. Everyone stood still, and you make them run, bump, and you everyone think they're in a running race. And you're doing this, and you're all excited. And I put all the cones back up because the cones are behind them, and you'll be shocked. I'd say 80% of people, before they step forward, they step backwards. Their first step is backwards. Everyone, they step back to run forward. They lose half a yard. Everyone, you'll be shocked. Only the strikers will be leaning forward to go forward. By the way, the defenders are already going. Like, you'll see just your body shape and your simple movement like that. All of a sudden, I've gained you half a yard just by training you to move your body correctly, and it's insane. Because I was going to show this actually. This is a clip of this. By the way, it's quite funny actually. It's a non-league time. Donkey FC, Donkey, and I don't know what Donkey. They're quite good on the old social medias. They've got loads of stuff coming up. They do loads and loads of stuff. But I wrote in their comment section, because I didn't do a technical breakdown for them, about some of the bad techniques that they've got at this non-league level. When I play this, you're going to see it, right? Watch this pass. And this is why by the way, one of the many reasons you don't play on 3G. Watch this. What did you not? What did you watch? Let's see if I can play it again quickly for you.
Well, it wasn't a longer ground, was it?
Watch this. See that bounce? See that bounce? Now, here's the problem. On 3G fields, that bounce affects your touch. That bounce means the ball's not hit cleanly. As soon as I see that, I go, your technique's poor. We're going to have to fix that. That's taken 1, 2, 3 seconds to get there instead of 1, 2. 1 second, we can clean that up. And if you clean those 1 seconds up, all of a sudden, but same in the Premier League, by the way, when you're trying to move the ball in the final third, who are you playing? Fulham, and you couldn't break them down. That's why you couldn't break them down. Everything was 1, 2, 3, and not 1, 2, 1, 2,
Absolutely.
1, 2.
Yeah.
One,
So frustrating. So
yeah,
frustrating.
yeah. And you can see it because their technique is not polished. They're not doing it right. It's not cleaned up properly. And they're going, by the way, there's more things wrong with that. There was no movement off the ball correctly. There was so many other weird things not happening. Can you get Ant and tell him what you think about it? Oh, I'd love to. By the way, because I've got this whole little graphic here for Ant.
Whereas... Okay, well, let's. I know he's moving house over the next week or so. I'll give him a shout, and we'll try and get him on a future show.
Because what I want to do with Ant, because Ant's saying a lot of the right things. By the way, he's close.
Is he? I must admit
he's close. No. He's close, but he's wrong.
Ant's thing about formations is you kind of touched on it earlier, that just because you put in a formation doesn't mean that you stay in that shape. You know, shape and formation are two different things. So that's what he is pushing, and I do agree with him on that one. Yeah.
So here's the thing, though. So, for instance, a 4-4-2. AC Milan used to play a 4-4-2, but they had a diamond in midfield.
Yeah.
It was. So, what are you talking of 4-4-2? See, this is the problem with football, and I have a huge issue with it, especially on YouTube, where I've decided I'm trying to educate and help people, and not just do reactions and fan ranty shit. And when people say things like, "Oh, he's playing a number 10," okay. What's your definition of a number 10? Because mine's going to be different than yours. Yours is going to be different than Wolfie's. Wolfie's is going to be different than Rob's. Rob's is different than Ant's. What's the number 10? You might as well just say blancmange. So I'm putting him in blancmange position.
That would have been Crypto's answer. Sorry.
Pardon?
That would have been Crypto's answer. Blancmange.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so you have to get more sort of specific in what you're saying, so when it goes wrong, we know why it's gone wrong, and we can sort of go, right, it's because we've got these two definitions wrong, you know. And if you're not talking the same football language, you can never come up with the same conclusion of why things are broken, because you're talking in two different languages.
Yeah, but there is also, I mean, I'm just speaking from like a content creator's point of view. You kind of then fall into that category of where people are trying to say we're not journalists, we're not documentary makers, we're not, I mean, I know Wolfie runs a under 15s team, so he's going for his badges and stuff like that, so he's more into that side of it. But the rest of us are there to give our opinions, and there are times obviously where you try and break it down a little bit more, try and figure out what's going wrong, because we see Forest more than anybody else does.
From
a fan base. But you coming across the same frustrations, even with Dyche in charge. And when you have got time on the ball, you mentioned the Fulham game. I don't think either goalkeeper had a save to make. It was a penalty in the game, and that was it. It was one of the poorest displays, but also the reverse fixture, like I said about with Everton. We were awful that day, and it was a very comfortable 3-0 win for Everton at their new ground, and so that needs to change tomorrow. But my argument has been, if you look at our performances against our two big wins, 3-0 at Anfield, 3-0 against Spurs, the players were up for that. Players were up against Man City as well. They're getting up for these games against the top 6 teams, and yet they can't turn up for a game against Fulham.
Okay, so that's important. That's important. Okay, so from a coaching point of view, I explained this in my breakdown. That isn't true. It isn't that they get up for big games and they play lesser for small games. It's because your team has no identity yet. So what happens when your team's got no identity and you're in this like middle land, this zombie land right here? What happens is you mirror who you're playing against. Okay, if you're not a good team, you won't mirror the good teams, but you've got a good team. So when you play against those good teams, you mirror them and you play well. Does that make sense? It's like, they've got their identity, right? The good teams have an identity, and you can go, right, now we can fit and we can play. And when they start moving the ball quickly, you can react to it. Then the less you're thinking, the more you're passing and playing. The problem is with the bad teams, they've got no identity. They're just bad. So then, because you don't have an identity of how you're going to break them down and attack them, you just do exactly what they do, play slow, sit there and do the thing and copy it. Happens all the time in football. Like the first time a coach was explaining it to me, we probably spent about 8 hours chatting on the sidelines after the game, like just constant. He was trying to explain it to me over and over again. And I was like, what do you mean we're just copying them? Yeah. You've got to make changes. You've got to give. He says, in games like that, what you need to do against a Fulham game is you bring players on that don't play for your team normally. Okay. You bring players on that need to actually make a show of them, or make a statement or try to earn a first team place, because they will bring the energy and the tempo, because that's what you're lacking. You don't have any energy and tempo. You can't bring, this person needs to come on and try to earn their spot on the field, and they will do it. And that's the way you break that sort of cycle until you get your team identity, because you had it under Nuno. You had the team identity under Nuno. It was there.
Well, he created it, didn't he? He turned us into a counter-attacking team last season, and with Elanga being a catalyst for that, okay, so many will argue we didn't replace Elanga. We didn't, but he's not pulled up any trees either since he's moved to Newcastle.
I tell you what,
you can't get into the team at the moment.
I said this in the chat. See, this is why Marinakis needs me to tell him what to do. What he needs to do right now is go to West Ham, buy Jared Bowen and sit him on your right wing.
Bowen.
Buy him, put him on your right wing, right? Yeah. All you'll do, right? So there's this huge thing in football coaching. It's not so prominent anymore in the Premier League. I can't remember. I think the last sort of time it happened when Man City were not Man City, but they were starting to get there. And I think Steve Sidwell was playing in centre midfield for him, and he was lighting up the Premier League. And Chelsea bought him and sat him on the bench. What you do is you buy the other team's best players. Whether you play them or not is irrelevant. They just get relegated now. They're gone. You take their only goal scorer, they're gone. Thank
Ferguson
you.
won leagues doing that. He'd buy the best player because there was no transfer window in those days. He'd do that all the time. That's how they take the best player off him. But the situation is at Forest that you're right. When you're up against these teams, the onus is on you to do something. And when you got a team backing off and allowing us time on the ball, we just can't break teams down yet. And Bowen, absolutely. I've liked him when he was at Hull. In the Championship, we came up against him then, and you could see he had something about him, and he was going to make it. And he's a fantastic player, absolute beast of a player as well, mate.
And one of the smart things, like if you're Marinakis right now in the transfer window, I would have a whole structure. So there's not that many football players that play professional football. There's about 5,970-ish across Europe, right? If you don't have a profile on every single one of those players and how much they earn and what they do everywhere, you're a bad scout. I'd have all of that ready to go. Most important place I'd be stealing players from is from the Championship, from players coming up. I would already know if there's anyone there that we could rob right now to fill a gap for us. Because you want to look people coming up and people coming down. Where can we get those players from to help fill our gap? Because the ones down there are cheaper.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. So even if you look at the base value for players now, so when our first season in the Premier League, you're looking at 15 million for a bog standard Premier League player. This season, we ended up signing James McAtee. He's one of my biggest disappointments so far from our signings. Now, I think it was 25 million. Bearing in mind, he's hardly played in the Premier League. He's done some. He's had a few games for Man City, and then he had a loan period with Sheffield United in the Premier League as well. In the season that obviously they got relegated, but he's come in, and we spent around 25 million, and we weren't dropping. It wasn't going to go any lower than that. So that's like the base rate for players nowadays. Okay, with Premier League tax and the homegrown player tax as well. Now, if you're getting players in at that level, what are you expecting from them? Are you expecting them to hit the ground running? And I think from a Forest fans' point of view, the exotic names and all that, the backwards and Cali Muendos and all those players that we, to be honest, most of us had never heard of, we were more excited about getting those in. But you were paying minimum 35 million. Ndoye's another one. I'd never really heard of him. He scored on his debut for us, but then he's been
away, really
ever since. But we spent minimum 35 million for these players, so that's the baseline now for these players coming in, and that's a value you're going to have to play, and that's just for somebody bog standard.
If you look, but here's the problem again. You look at the Portuguese league and you look at some of the players that are coming out of there. Like, I think one of Liverpool's biggest mistakes was selling Darwin Núñez. Oh, because this goes on to the Saudi league as well. Because there's this other massive thing that no one in football is talking about, is the Saudi league. And what would have happened is the Koulibalis of the world that are playing over there would be playing in the Premier League. That's where he would be. And all these players that I would say the older players, the old war horses, you know what I mean? They would still be on a Premier League team, helping the younger ones come through and giving you confidence. And,
I mean,
have the older midfielders.
Granit Xhaka at Sunderland.
Yeah.
Fantastic player. Look at his influence on them this season. And it's all been positive. He's a player that I would have definitely looked at.
But let's be honest though, Granit Xhaka's not a great player. He's not. All right, is he good? Yeah, but he's not great. He's not great. He's good, but he's not great. But then you look at like Kante that was at Chelsea. He's over in Saudi. You've got Sadio Mane. Like I guarantee you, any one of the bottom half of the Premier League teams would have Sadio Mane on the bench to come on the left wing all day long. Can you do 25 minutes? Imagine him coming on for you against Fulham. He's scoring in that game. You know, he's not there anymore. So all of this talent has been squeezed out of the Premier League, and that's what's making the Premier League so bog average from, you know, 4th down to 17th. They're all the same because Saudi have taken, who's that striker they bought from Aston Villa, that young kiddie in his 24?
Oh, yeah, John Duran.
Yeah, Duran's gone. And, of course, they scooped up Nunes. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Darwin Nunes is a fantastic striker. What I'm saying is, he's crazier than a bags of cats. He's up front. You don't know if he's going to punch the defender in the head. You don't know if he's going to bicycle kick it in from the halfway line. You've got no. But he's gone now. Never to come back because the price tag's too high now. That player's never going to come back to the Premier League. You never know his potential is going to be. He's gone. So the Saudi League has had such an impact on the Premier League football, and no one's talking about it.
Yeah, but I mean, people are so overlooking Saudi League. The amount of money they spent on the infrastructure in that country, people are overlooking it.
Yeah,
they've got so much invested in this new city that they're creating and all that. They're trying to. I mean, I don't agree with what they're doing, but that's from a different point of view. But say that to ignore what's going on there is foolish. Because people are realizing that there's a big draw, you know, and also the tax-free, money-wise. Listen, money makes the world go around, and people will know that they can do. They have to stay there 2 seasons, I think, to keep it as tax-free. But 2 seasons out there, even if you're 23, 24, 25 right now, you can still come back to Premier League at some point. But you could be set for life, and not just yourself, generationally. Doing a couple of seasons
but also, though, this Saudi play to me, exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, Calvert-Lewin is I think he's quite good. But also, it's because they're going to be the Super League is going to happen, right? And my whole, I don't know if you've seen my conspiracy video I did about 2 years ago, explaining of how they're going to make the Super League happen and what VAR is really there about. Because I've never seen so many bad referee decisions that I've seen in the last 2 years. All the fans are going to get behind the hatred for the referees. Okay, and then they're going to go, oh, but if we do it over here in the Super League, we're not going to have these referees. We're going to have our new Super League referees. They're going to be accountable and do all of this. They're going to get it to the point that all the fans are so dead against the referees that all of the clubs are now going to be united against the PGMOL, and they're going to go, oh, come over here in the Super League. Oh, and by the way, we play that in Saudi Arabia, and we play that in Europe, and we you know, all of those out of look, they're trying to do in Italy and Spain for TV revenue and move over to America and do all that. That's what they're going to do. And is it going to be in the next 3 years? No, probably not. In the next 5 to 10 years? Yeah, probably. And you'll see a switch. There'll be a switch that will go when the mainstream media start talking badly about the referees, and that's when you'll know they've been given the green light to go ahead and
push your agenda. We'll see a shift in the narrative, because it is all narrative led. If you want to read between the lines, understand what the narrative is and what they're trying to push. But I'm not disagreeing with that. Actually, I can see that happening. Absolutely.
I did actually quite like. There's a content creator that I never really sort of watched until sort of the last season or so, and that's old Mark Goldbridge, an old Golden Burger. By the way, go check my YouTube shorts out. He confirms Cash is the biggest football channel in all of YouTube. He did say it. So it might have been a super chat. I might have made him say it. but what I quite like with him is he doesn't hold back about behind the scenes and why he left TalkSport. And he says every second Wednesday, every 2 weeks, the referees go in to TalkSport and they tell them what they're basically allowed to say. And if they're doing that on TalkSport, they've got no credibility. That's it. And he's open about that and says, no, I'm not going to. I like the fact he goes, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. You might not agree with his opinion. That's a different thing. But the fact he's willing to say that, you know, and just dump off corporate jobs and whatever in mainstream media.
We've had a bit of a experience of that where we were asked to push an agenda during Cooper's time. Yeah.
Wow.
we were asked to. It was after my new game. I'll tell you this actually off here. But yeah,
Okay, okay.
we were asked
Tell
to
me.
put out a couple of tweets, and it was backing the narrative or the narrative that they were putting out. We didn't do it, but yeah, we understand how it works, So
Oh,
you
yeah,
do
yeah,
see
yeah.
this, and obviously mainstream media, in terms of like if you're talking about the big channels that we grew up with, they're dead. It's dead in the
Yeah,
water. People do
yeah.
not get their news from the news at 10 or BBC News or anything like that anymore. They just don't.
And they
You
don't
know.
understand it. Like I was listening to because Talksport not yet to put cash on. I'm probably only going to get to be on there once speaking. Because I was explaining that old Simon Jordan didn't have a clue what he was talking about with the TV rights in the NFL. No idea. And I was going to go in there and yell at them. But also I was going to explain to them one simple thing. I play the only video game that there is, which is Dota 2. Everything else is for children. Dota 2 is the only video game that there. Okay. But most people never even heard of Dota 2. The prize pool for Dota 2 at TI8 in 2018 was $56 million for a game that you've not heard of. Okay, think about that. These kids are growing up playing Fortnite, Counter-Strike. They don't care about football. They just genuinely don't. So their audience is dying, and they want to increase their revenues, which they can't do, which they can't understand. They can't understand why is all the Sky Sports subscriptions going away? And to counteract that, they're trying to drive up the cost of it to make up for the fact that they've got less money. Where, like in India, you can watch a Sky Sports game for 9p, and here I've got to spend £2.30 on it per game. That's basically how much it works out. And I miss all the 3 o'clock kickoff games. People aren't putting up with missing 3 o'clock kickoff games in the internet age. I'm just not doing it. No. And no one goes back. When you lose an audience member, they don't come back. They're never coming.
I mean, I'll be interested to see what the stats are on even on Match of the Day. Since like love him or hate him, Gary Lineker bought them ratings. Bought them viewers. I don't think anybody watches it anymore. I think I watched the opening day when we won 3-1. I don't think I've watched the Match of the Day since. So these little changes that are happening will turn into big changes, and that I mentioned to you off air, talking about taking things off YouTube and going to Rumble, and giving yourself that independence, because these big organizations, we've seen how they work, and we know if they want to push a narrative, they all push it. We can't use the word, but something that happened in 2020, that the whole world was involved in, but every single channel pushed it, and they pushed the narrative and pushed it until you had to switch it off if you didn't want to hear it, to get away from it, you had to switch it off.
We were talking off air as well about shadow banning on the channel, on my YouTube channels and stuff like that. Like, I know my channel doesn't get pushed. I'm well aware of that. Like, is my content great? Yeah, it's all right. The production value is pretty poor, but ultimately I know how many subscribers I've got, so I know how many people YouTube is supposed to push it out to. And when it doesn't push it out to even half of the people that I'm subscribed to, I know that there's a problem. And when you look at those numbers and you go, okay, on my growth rate, I can track when YouTube's pushing it. I'm about to go through, I'll hit 4,500 subscribers by the end of January, because YouTube's pushing my channel at the moment, right? I haven't got 100 subscribers in 3 months, but all of a sudden I've got 160 in 2 weeks. Hold on a minute. Like, nothing's changed, YouTube. I've not done anything different, So that you're in a box, and that they're cultivating. And I'll tell you now, I've had over 20 copyright strikes on my channel, okay, from the Premier League. From
clips and stuff like that, yeah.
Well, no, because I'm good with my clips. I only use 3 seconds, so they can't copyright claim me. They copyright the ones when I categorically stonewall destroy the referee's corruption in that game. When I show it and go, look, this is one challenge that he's given a yellow card for. This is another challenge he hasn't given anything for. This is a penalty that he's given. This is the other one that he's not given. And that's when my channel that video will get copyright struck, no problem. Now, as well, if I mention like certain football clubs that I may or may not have worked for over times, Manchester City, I will get that video's done. That video, boom, gone. I've beaten every single copyright strike, every one out of 20 odd.
Yeah.
So, but you got to ask the question, why is it only on the ones when I'm slagging off the referee? because I'll tell you what, I'm going to get copyright struck on a video I'm working to do by the end of January, early February, where I phone up the government. You're going to love it. I'm going to phone up the new government regulation people and ask them some really hard questions on the phone and record the conversation and make broadcast it live of exactly what they're looking to do within football.
If anybody in the chat wants to see me and Cash do we're not calling ourselves conspiracy theorists, we're free thinkers. If we want to see a free thinkers stream, we might set something up on Rumble in the near future. We never know. Because I could talk for hours about what I think is right and wrong about what's going on in the world, but not everything's PC. And sometimes you won't get away with it on YouTube. As soon as you mention something that they don't want you to mention. Like I said, I couldn't even mention that word earlier about that thing that happened in 2020 because you can get banned for that. So,
well, it's crazy.
It's a crazy world where, but speaking the truth gets you locked up.
Well, it's really interesting, especially with because this is what will happen. Okay, they're going to mess around with the wrong people in these football clubs. All right. So, for instance, Newcastle. I want Newcastle to get relegated, not because I want Newcastle to get relegated. I want Newcastle to get relegated, right? And for the reason of this. If Newcastle get relegated, because they got done, like there was a clear penalty on a handball in that bloody Man United game that they didn't get. Okay. You see that when he caught the ball, he goes, hit his chin and then his hand. Oh, yeah, but he's brought the ball down with his hand. It's a bloody handball. Like, shut up. It's definitely a handball. And then they don't get given it. But they've got the money to take Premier League to court and go over all these referees' decisions and say, well, we should have won that game, we should have won that game, and we didn't because now we're down. And they're the sort of, that's what you need to have. Imagine that the richest club in the world have been relegated and got the financial resources to go after the PGMOL and batter them and say, no, you're completely and utterly corrupt. And they would be, because
we're going to... let's end on one particular. We're talking about corruption and refereeing decisions. Did you see the controversial decision in the Forest game that Sean Dyche came out and spoke about after the game, which was that Diaz should have had a second yellow card deep into the just into the second half. Sorry, did you see that? And what were your opinions on that decision?
Hold on. Let's listen to Dyche's opinion first.
It's quite rare to see two centre-backs from Man City rattle like they were quite a lot today. How encouraging? Well, you saw it, but apparently the officials didn't. I don't know what happened there. Everyone else saw it, but I've never seen centre halves drag someone to the floor as much and get away with it that often in the Premier League.
I think that says it all there, really. Like, but it's Manchester City. Like, I don't know if you saw the clips of them, shaking the hands with the referee at the end of the game. Yeah.
And we know what they do. They have a resort, don't they? At the end of the season, in the close season, they invite all these referees out to these tournaments, and they get all these luxury gifts and free holidays and all that. But there's nothing to see there. Just walk on.
Well, you see, one of the things that I did when I was in coaching youth football over in Yankee Doodle Land, I helped, basically built the soccer mafia in the East Coast of the United States. If you wanted to do something in football, you came to me. And when I was over in China, I had a guy from West Ham approach me. And we're sitting there having pizza. And I just thought it was a chat. There's me being me, he's like, and I'm like, I've ordered a beer. He's not ordered a beer. As soon as he's not ordered a beer, I went, what's this about? And he starts telling me who he is. I'm not going to say who he is. And he worked for West Ham. And he recruited all of John Terry, Joe Cole, like all of these people. And he was part of the soccer mafia in London around that time. And, bringing all these players in. And he was waiting to see whether or not I was over here to do that in, over in Beijing. I'm like, well, no, but basically that was like coming to step on his turf, really. That's what, And so it's everywhere. It's everywhere in the world. These mafias are everywhere. These little cabals of getting, because they're agents and they're all like, there's so much money.
And there's so much money in football now. You think there's no corruption? I mean, just have a look at FIFA, the bastions of truthfulness and no conspiracies there, man. Nothing to look at there either. So if it's right at the top, it seeps all the way down, mate.
It's all the way through.
There's so much money in football. There's definitely corruption, and unfortunately, these big clubs, have some impunity.
I saw that foul on phone, and it's not really what it seems to be. Yeah. Because when you look at it from the other angle, he doesn't actually catch him properly on the knee at all. It's only if you do a still image, it looks like it. But if you do a still image, it's off. So it's his foot's here and his knee's there.
Yeah.
But if you do the still image that way, it looks like his foot's going to hit his knee, but it doesn't. Yeah. So that's
so they've always got something to moan about. But yeah, they should have been down to 10 men. But there's a comment there about Abramovich's money. You know, say something we need to get in. We'll discuss on a different show. But he's agreed to give that to charity. He's just saying you can't take my money and then distribute it the way you want to. He's happy to distribute it himself.
Actually, this is even worse than that. Basically, he says 100% of it must go to war people affected by the war.
Yeah.
Okay, but it must go to people on both sides.
Yeah,
that's what he said. And they said, well, we're not giving it to the Russians. And he goes, no, it's going to civilians on both sides.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, like we want to steal it.
We want to steal it and then just funnel it through our system, and it will never go to the people who need it. It will never.
Never does.
You have our Prime Minister standing up and bloody trying to demand it like he's some sort of mafia boss or something. Anyway, we're off topic. Anyway, we will. I think we should do this.
That's kind of what I like, because one of the main things is like I always wanted to do like football coaching courses on this channel, but it's so difficult because I'm used to standing in front of a classroom and talking to people, on a field talking to people. When I'm on my own talking, it's very, very difficult for me to stay on point and actually get through what I want to talk through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I don't know how Wolfie does it. I mean, he does the watch-alongs and it's, up to 2 hours where you're you're speaking to a screen. But that's where you need a chat, to be interactive.
Yeah. Oh, my chat's pretty awesome.
Tonight, so
my chat's pretty awesome. Yeah. My chat messages come in, and by the way, because I'll jump in Discord afterwards and I'll talk for another hour or two about all sorts of stuff. My African boys, you want to hear about Zambia and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And find out that their president's faked his own death and he's hiding in South Africa. And robbing money. You don't know anything. Till you talk to my African boys, you don't know anything about corruption and dodgy shit.
That's true. But it's been great to be on, mate. We'll definitely do this again in the future. I'll try and get a couple of the other lads to jump on from time to time as well. But yeah, it's good to share a bit of screen time, a bit of banter as well. Can't take it too seriously, I say. As from our channel's point of view, we're just trying to make sure that we're you got to be consistent. I mean, Gore's just one show that we do, but Wolfie's putting out daily videos. We do. It's coming up to the January transfer window, so that tends to be our busiest period, and certainly where we get the most content out. And you got daily videos, sometimes several times a day. Depending on how much news. But at the moment, there's been no definite links. I think the only one we've been linked to is Everton player, forgetting his name now. Anyway, one of their wingers. But that's a Sean Dyche link,
Jack Grealish.
I wish it was. I was really into getting him in the summer, but I've obviously offered him a better deal, and it's a lot closer to Manchester than Nottingham is. But I would have liked Jack Grealish. I think he's done well since he's been there, and they are. I think we'll finish in the top 10. I think we've got a good squad, but I asked the question. Is Dyche ball any different to Moyes ball? Would I want that? I wouldn't want either. But we've got what we've got, and I think by the end of the season we'll do enough to stay up, and hopefully we will have progressed in the Europa League. But
that's the big thing for you guys. If you make it the Europa League final, right, let's be honest, you'll love it. Europa League final. If you win it, brilliant.
Yeah.
But
there's a couple of decent teams in there. But thank you, man.
Other than that, guys, we'll sign off. We'll see you next time on Cash Talks Football.
Take care.